There was a time when the whole world dreamed of stepping foot in America. But today, they are turning their backs. They are talking about a different America. No longer bright with lights, no longer friendly.
I was planning a trip to LA to see a friend. However, we decided to go to Mexico instead.
And New York looks like it's in worse shape than Toronto when it comes to all the homeless encampments and everything. Philadelphia looks awful. Pittsburgh doesn't look good. Where would we go?
In 2025, the US tourism industry plummeted by more than $12 billion in just 1 year. 10% of tourism jobs are being wiped out, leaving millions of livelihoods in jeopardy. In Michigan, family inns are closing down in droves. In Vegas, tour guides have been cut without any promise of return. Even New York, once a source of pride for America, is now confusing tourists. The issue is not just losing customers, but losing trust. It's not just the tourism industry that is collapsing. It's the image of America that is fading before the eyes of the world. Could it be that tariff, visa, and political policies are causing us to close the door on the warm welcome that was once very American? In this video, we will take a look back at the 10 states that are suffering the most severe consequences. Not to blame, not to incite, but to understand what is happening to the country we once proudly called our common home. Do you think Florida, with its long beaches, expensive amusement parks, and year-round sunshine, will always be a dream destination? Take another look. Because that paradise is gradually becoming so desolate that it's hard to recognize. In West Palm Beach, Mr. Milton Segarra, President and CEO of Discover Palm Beaches, stated,
"Canadian market is our #1 international market."
However, after President Trump proposed tariffs on imported aluminum, the Prime Minister of Canada called on citizens to reconsider traveling to the US, and Florida tops the boycott list.
I actually feel guilty that I'm here.
I live here 6 months. This is my home, but I'm leaving April 2nd.
Orlando, the entertainment capital of the United States, home to Disney World, which attracts millions of tourists each year, is now forced to shorten operating hours, reduce services, and temporarily close some areas due to a significant drop in visitors. Meanwhile, Miami, an essential destination for Canadians and Europeans, is also seeing a drop in visitors of more than 25%. Hotels, restaurants, and boat tours have all been heavily impacted. But the numbers do not fully convey the feelings of the people of Florida, especially those who rely on tourism at this time. The owner of the Seat and Bean Cafe said,
"It is having not only a negative impact on the tourism market, but business as a whole."
He is not the only one. Hundreds of people in the local service industry now have to live on meager subsidies or leave the profession. And even more heartbreaking is that tourists are choosing other places. Mexico, Portugal, or even Croatia, where costs are lower, visas are easier, and the welcome remains warm, are gradually attracting the guests who used to be loyal to Florida for years. A Canadian tourist asked, "Why pay an extra 30% for the same vacation and face suspicious looks at the border?" Mexico, Portugal, or even Croatia, where costs are lower, visas are easier, and the welcome remains warm, are gradually attracting the guests who used to be loyal to Florida for years. A Canadian tourist asked, "Why pay an extra 30% for the same vacation and face suspicious looks at the border?" The consequences are not just financial. It is a loss of identity, of a Florida that once made the world dream of visiting. For the older residents who have lived here for decades, this is hard to accept. They have witnessed Florida transform thanks to tourism. Now they see it shrinking day by day without anyone asking why. And in the meantime, the state of Florida has not yet put forth any clear plans to retain international visitors. No new promotional campaigns, no efforts to improve the visa experience. Even some localities have cut budgets for winter tourist attraction events. Florida may still be beautiful. The sun still rises in Key West. The waves still crash at the Naples Pier. But if no one comes to admire it anymore, does that beauty still hold meaning? Can Florida maintain its reputation as a vacation paradise if no one comes to visit anymore? If you've been to Florida in the past 10 years, what have you noticed has changed? Share your experiences in the comments, because what you see might be saying something that many people haven't dared to name. But this is just the opening chapter. The next state, once bright with lights and calls from around the world, is now sinking into darkness in a completely different way. Do you think California is big enough to not be affected by the American travel boycott? Think again, because right now, the groups of high-spending tourists are quietly disappearing from this state. Right after Mr. Trump took office, many foreign tourists were concerned that the US dollar would fluctuate. Mr. Carr Bates, a tourist from Australia, shared.
With Trump getting into office, there was opinions that the dollar would drop, which has for us a little bit.
At the peak, it was estimated that 3 to 4 million tourists flew to California each year to enjoy their dream vacation. But by 2025, San Francisco and San Diego reported a 25 to 30% drop in bookings. Numerous Hollywood tours had to be cancelled, and souvenir shops in Santa Monica closed earlier each evening. The non-profit organization Tourism Economics also forecast that the number of international tourists to the US could decrease by 5% this year, largely due to the trade war initiated by the Trump administration. Two families from Germany, Mr. Mario Michel and Mr. Dennis, shared.
I think it's divided in half. One half said, yes, okay, we would support Donald Trump also, but the other half would say absolutely not.
The CEO of Starline Tours emphasized, not only economic policies, but recent immigration crackdowns have also made America's image less friendly in the eyes of tourists. And that goes beyond borders, spreading to Australia, Europe, and many countries that once loved the American dream. For those working in the service industry here, that absence is not just a statistic. In Los Angeles, a 51-year-old man who specializes in renting out on Airbnb shared that he hasn't had any international bookings for over 6 months. The apartment, once fully booked by guests from South Korea, France, Brazil, etc., is now closed, lights off, as if it had never been a part of the most vibrant tourism economy in the United States. He shared, "I used to think I was a cultural connector," he said. "Now I'm just a key holder for an empty house." California is still beautiful, but that beauty is gradually becoming invisible, as no one comes to admire it anymore. The Hollywood dream was once an invitation to the whole world. Now it has become a distant memory for many international tourists. The consequence is not just the loss of money. It is the quiet disintegration of a local tourism ecosystem, from housekeepers, restaurant servers, Uber drivers, to street flower vendors. Ironically, the gig economy, once a hope for middle-aged individuals to earn extra income after retirement, is rapidly shrinking in San Diego, Sacramento, and Fresno. If you are an older adult still wishing to explore inland California at an affordable price, Viator by TripAdvisor is offering short tours for the 50-plus group with a light, friendly itinerary and discounts for senior members. California may still be the symbol of the American dream, but is it still worth visiting now, when even the most loyal guests are leaving without a word? Have you ever visited California? What impressed you the most? And do you feel that place still retains its spirit as before? According to the latest data from the tourism marketing organization Choose Chicago, nearly 2 million international tourists visited Chicago in 2023. Among them, over 450,000 people came from Canada, the largest international market. Bridget Carlson, the marketing director of Shoreline Sightseeing, shared.
International travel is huge for Chicago. For so many of our partners rely on all sorts of visitors, especially global visitors. They come longer, they stay longer, they spend more money.
However, the wave of tour cancellations is occurring severely in Illinois, especially in Chicago. Comfort Tour of Canada, a travel company based in Toronto that specializes in tours to Chicago, stated that this season was supposed to be the peak for spring, summer, and fall bookings, but everything has come to a complete halt, just like the first wave of COVID. And the reason is not just because of tariffs. From the wave of violent crime to the scenes of chaos happening right in the center, all of this is causing the tourism industry to falter. Many individual travelers have cancelled their hotel reservations, not daring to come to Chicago in the coming weeks or months. Worse yet, some conferences have completely withdrawn from Chicago, moving to other cities in the Midwest. Less than 3 blocks from the Magnificent Mile, a 62-year-old man, the owner of a family-run pizza shop that has been open since 1985, recounts, "We used to serve 200 customers a day. Now, there are only about 60 left, and half of them are takeout." Those kinds of shops are the backbone of Chicago's street economy, where locals and tourists alike stop to share a meal and a story. Now they are quietly closing down, one by one. Some businesses are trying to maintain hope. SeniorPlanet.org, a non-profit initiative in Illinois, offers digital skills and small business courses for seniors. They support online sales and promote local tourism through social media as a small escape amidst the narrowing path. When even a billion-dollar company like McDonald's hesitates with Chicago, who else has the courage to start over from here? Have you been to Chicago in previous years? If you went back today, what do you think would make you feel different? Next, we will head south, to a place where, without the sea, the tourism industry once thrived. But now, the atmosphere in the border cities is gradually cooling due to the lack of incoming traffic. That's Texas. Texas doesn't have long beaches like Florida, nor does it have the glitzy Hollywood of California. But for many years, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston have become favorite destinations for international tourists thanks to their vibrant culture, distinctive cuisine, and friendly people. But now, many tours from Mexico, the key neighboring market, are being cancelled en masse. According to the Texas Travel Industry Association, the cancellation rate of tours from Mexican travel companies has increased by more than 30% in just the past year, especially following tensions in the border region and strict immigration control policies. In San Antonio, a 60-year-old man, a shuttle driver between hotels and tourist spots, retired early despite not being fully eligible for retirement benefits. He shared, "I used to drive every day, meeting guests from all over. Now I only have a few scattered trips each week. Not enough to live on. I accept retirement even though I know life ahead won't be easy." The lack of customers not only causes the buses to sit idle, it causes the entire community dependent on the tourism supply chain to start collapsing like dominoes. Small shops along Riverwalk are reducing their hours. Family-owned restaurants that relied on foreign customers are forced to cut staff. Even annual cultural events like Fiesta San Antonio, which used to attract hundreds of thousands of tourists, are now facing the risk of budget cuts for promotion. And for thousands of seniors living in Texas, part-time jobs in the tourism industry were once an important part of their survival after retirement. Now, they have lost both their income and their sense of connection to the community. If you are an elderly person in Texas looking to adapt, the Silver Sneakers organization is currently collaborating with community centers to provide digital skills training, helping seniors promote handmade services, local tours, or sell products online. A small ray of hope, but enough to maintain dignity during tough times. Texas used to be a welcoming place, a place where people could start anew. But now, are we slowly closing that door? Even for those who once considered this their second home. Do you have relatives who used to work in the Texas tourism industry? Are they affected by this change? Please share your story in the comments below. The next journey will take us to a paradise island, where nature remains enchanting, but the world is gradually forgetting to visit. Welcome to Hawaii. Hawaii. Just hearing the name makes people think of warm ocean waves, swaying palm trees, hula dance, and purple sunsets stretching across the sea. But what is happening on the islands is far from that beauty. According to the latest report from the Hawaii Tourism Authority, bookings from South Korea, China, and Australia have decreased by more than 35% compared to the same period last year. Airfare has skyrocketed due to higher fuel costs and increased import taxes on aviation parts, making a vacation in Hawaii a luxury for many. For Hawaii, this is nothing short of an economic shock, as for many years this state has heavily relied on international tourism more than any other state. with nearly 1/3 of the state's GDP coming from this sector. When group tours from Tokyo no longer arrive, when tour groups from Australia shift their destinations to Bali or Thailand, it also means that the entire livelihood chain of the local people, from tour guides, drivers, photographers to lay flower growers, is gradually falling into crisis. At a small market in Oahu, a local girl in her 30s who specializes in selling handmade souvenirs said, "I used to earn enough to send money back to help my parents on Big Island. Now, I can only cover the booth rent." She lost more than 80% of her revenue since Asian customers nearly disappeared. And the crisis here is not just financial. It is the silent pain of seeing culture being neglected, when traditional performances no longer have an audience and festivals are cancelled due to lack of funding. A rare ray of hope is the Kupuna Aina Workshops program, where native elders are supported in reconnecting with traditional crafts such as weaving, jewelry making, or cultivating native plants to guide domestic guests in experiential tours. Even though it's just a small act, it is enough to preserve the spiritual values and pride of Hawaiian identity. If no one else comes, can Hawaii continue to be a paradise? Or will it just be a memory for those who were once welcomed here? Have you ever been to Hawaii? What do you miss the most? And do you plan to go back, given the current situation? Please share in the comments below. New York used to be a place where you could meet the whole world in just one morning strolling around Central Park. But now, that atmosphere is thinning, not because of the autumn wind, but because the stream of international visitors is dwindling day by day. In Times Square, a 56-year-old man, a street performer who specializes in dressing up as the Statue of Liberty, said that his income has dropped by more than 70% over the past 2 years. He shared, "In the past, foreign tourists liked to take photos with me. They tipped me, they smiled. Now, they don't come anymore. I stood here all day, and no one looked." According to the NYC and Company Report 2025, the number of bookings from international tourists has decreased by nearly 20% compared to the previous year. The hotels in the Manhattan area, which were once fully booked, have now reduced their capacity by more than 1/3. Broadway, the pride of the American performing arts industry, had to cancel dozens of performances due to a lack of advance ticket sales from foreign tourists. For New York, tourism is not just about money, it is the soul of its culture. When the flow of visitors ceases, the city not only loses revenue, but also the reason to keep its museums, theaters, and galleries, once admired by the world, open. And that pain quietly touches the elderly residents living in the suburbs who once provided guiding services, rented rooms, or volunteered at the historical sites. Some organizations are striving to hold on to what remains. The New York Public Library for the Performing Arts is launching Living Memory Tours, combining art, history, and senior storytellers, helping local visitors and the younger generation explore the city through vivid memories. It is a community model, where the elderly are not forgotten, and New York is not just a city of buildings but of people. If New York, the city that once embraced the whole world, is now being turned away by the world, then what has really changed? Do you remember the first time you set foot in New York? What did you see? And if you were to go back today, do you think you would feel differently? I used to take Japanese tour groups to see shows, guide German tourists around classic casinos. Now the phone no longer rings. That was the statement of a 48-year-old man, a Mexican tour guide who had been leading entertainment tours for 17 years, who said he was laid off earlier this year. Now, he has to switch to being a nighttime delivery driver, even though he has never been used to driving alone in the dark. According to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, the number of international visitors to the city in 2025 has decreased by more than 30%, especially from Asian and European countries. Famous shows like Cirque du Soleil have been forced to reduce their performances and even temporarily suspend some programs that used to sell out for the entire year. For Las Vegas, losing international visitors is not just about losing ticket sales. That means losing the entire nightlife economic ecosystem, from bartenders, housekeeping staff, limo drivers, to the backstage crew. And behind the now extinguished glamour, there are the quiet stories of thousands of Las Vegas residents, those who believed that the tourism industry could sustain a lifetime, now having to find a way to start from scratch. In an effort to preserve a part of the city's memory, Vegas PBS's Reskill Nevada organization is helping seniors retrain their skills, from virtual guides to online tour booking services, so they can work remotely even if they no longer step on stage. When was the last time you visited Las Vegas? And if you were to go back today, do you think this city still has the same allure as before? And if Vegas is no longer lively, if there are no more laughter, lights, and dreams, then what remains in this desert? There are places where just standing still is enough to make people feel moved. Grand Canyon is such a place, a natural wonder that millions of people around the world have dreamed of seeing at least once in their lifetime. But recently, that wonder has been becoming lonely. According to data from the Arizona Office of Tourism, the number of international visitors to the Grand Canyon and Sedona area has decreased by more than 18%, with Flagstaff, the gateway to the northern tourism route, dropping by 15% in just the past 12 months. And when the flow of tourists stopped, everything else began to fall apart. Losing tourists is not just losing room rental income, it is losing the livelihoods of the entire community. Car rental shops, off-road jeep tours, and Navajo handicrafts are all severely affected. Even the small town centers, where the elderly used to organize walking tours telling local stories, now feel sparse and cold, like an endless winter. In that context, the Arizona program Travel Later, Support Now by Visit Arizona is reintroducing domestic discounts for seniors in collaboration with ALAA Senior Travel Services, helping Americans over 55 to explore their homeland's heritage conveniently and safely, while contributing to the revival of small, struggling tourist towns. Have you ever visited the Grand Canyon? What moment do you remember the most? And do you think you will return in a few years? And do you think a wonder still holds meaning, if no one comes to stand in awe of its beauty? No alarm bells, no sensational news, just the for sale signs quietly popping up along the northern Michigan border roads, once a familiar vacation spot for Canadian tourists. In a small town near Lake Superior, a 65-year-old man, the owner of a 3-generation family inn, had to sell the business that had been part of his family for over 70 years. He shared, "We used to welcome guests from Ontario. We used to light the fireplace for them in the winter. Now, no one comes anymore. I don't want to be the last one to close up, but I have no other choice." He left quietly, as if the town itself was trying to hide its own sorrow. Michigan once thrived on its borderless relationship with Canada, from trade to tourism. But after the trade tensions and the call for a boycott of American tourism by Canadian leaders, that loyal stream of visitors disappeared. The consequence is not just the silence on the streets. That is the local economic ecosystem being affected. Gas stations have seen their revenue cut in half. Family restaurants don't have enough customers to keep the kitchen open all day. Boat rental, bicycle rental, and nature tour spots close early. In that situation, the Pure Michigan Seniors Initiative was launched locally to attract older domestic tourists in collaboration with Silver Sneakers to organize gentle travel programs for seniors in the state, both supporting the community and preserving the local rhythm of life. We have sacrificed small communities like Sault Ste. Marie. Marie for what? And is there a way back? Do you have any memories of the small border towns in Michigan? Share so those memories won't be forgotten. In previous years, you could hear all sorts of voices echoing between the steps of the Lincoln Memorial or along the halls of the Smithsonian Museum. But this year, those voices have significantly dwindled. According to the Destination DC Tourism Report 2025, the number of international tourists to the US capital has decreased by nearly 22% compared to the previous year. Tours from Europe have decreased significantly, especially from France, Germany, and Italy, due to rising costs and increasingly complex visa regulations. The sad thing is that Washington, D.C. is not losing its architectural or historical beauty, but is gradually losing its role as a cultural bridge. The capital, instead of being the first stop, has now become a place where people hesitate to step in. However, there are still efforts to keep the city's light shining. Road Scholar, an organization specializing in educational tours for seniors, is currently encouraging older American travelers to return to explore DC through its Capital Stories programs, combining history, art, and intergenerational dialogue. If the capital of the United States is also losing its place in the hearts of international friends, then what can we still hold in their hearts? And so, we have gone through 10 states that are bearing the brunt of the $100 billion tourism crisis. But that's not the end yet. Today, we have together traversed 10 states that are gradually losing something deeper than money: visitation, concern, and trust. Behind every sparsely populated city is a small community struggling to keep its breath. Could it be that in the process of protecting our borders, we have inadvertently closed the door to hospitality? When prioritizing grand calculations, we have forgotten those who live by the visits of others. But it's not too late to look back. No need to open all the doors wide, but don't lock all the entrances. No need to argue, but we need to listen and understand. Small initiatives are rekindling the spark. Perhaps recovery doesn't start with policy, but with the community itself, from people like you. If you have ever worked in the tourism industry, witnessed changes in your community, please leave a comment. Your story is a part of America that we should not forget. This video does not represent any political viewpoint, nor does it promote or criticize any organization or individual. The content is built from public sources, as a sharing, a reminder, from the people to the people. Because America is not just a map, but it's the people and the stories worth continuing to tell.